So
I feel weird about this. I feel weird about this because I don't know if I have so much interesting stuff to share.
I'll figure it out. Most of interested people don't know what to say about themselves. And boring people talk a lot about themselves.
I find it a lot easier to make videos of other people and interviewing other people. Feels like it takes the responsibility of making my own personality shine. And yeah. So I guess we start?
Yes. Can you introduce yourself? Tell me what you do.
Hi, my name is Gonzalez. I'm a videographer / podcaster. I have my company, Good Soup Productions, with my wife, Marie. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. We specialize in event coverage, music performance coverage. Our bread and butter has been interviews, or like artist profiles like the one you see here. And as of recent, Marie and I started a podcast, Good Soup After Dark. Good Soup After Dark, for right now, is a podcast where we interview people of note, so authors, artists, musicians. We interview interesting people and kind of give them the platform to share who they are, and kind of, I guess you can say, in kind of a safe space. We're not gotcha journalists. We're not out for like salacious clips. We really just want to make a platform for people to share who they are. We work with a lot of people who are generally around our level. You know, we have like less than 1,000 followers on Instagram, and we're still building up our YouTube channel. But just like with ourselves and like with my wife, Marie, we know that there's a lot of talented people out there that don't really get a chance to put themselves, in front of a camera or, broadcast what they do. And we're just hoping to use our platform to do that. It's been fun so far. I'm learning how to be a better interviewer, as I think Marie is as well. And yeah, that's just kind of what I do. In real life, like I like to say, I'm a cable guy. It's not my favorite job anymore. A few years ago, I kind of decided to change the trajectory of what I do, and my interests have changed dramatically, or drastically. So I've been pursuing, the video production and the podcast, like kind of head on. And yeah, that's the basic gist of who I am. So as far as my background in this, I don't think I have such a strong background. I mean, in high school, I took like a video production class to kind of get an easy credit. I took photography for a year because I was briefly interested. So I have a basic understanding of those things, but I didn't get so much into depth with editing videos or making videos in general till about 2021. I was personally going through a hard time. Just like anyone else, I have stuff wrong with me, which is fine. I was going through some type of group therapy session, let's say. And at that stage in my life, I didn't have any particular interest. Like I said, I was going through a tough time. I have bipolar 1. Not a lot of people know that, and I guess now you do. And I was kind of going through like a really depressive, reclusive phase, and I sought treatment. And during this treatment, I was in a group therapy session, and they were asking like, what are your interests? What do you do? And at that particular time in my life, I would sit at home in the dark and do nothing. And they were really trying to encourage me to find something to do. And they were suggesting things. I can't even remember what they suggested, but I just remember being like, no. And one of the therapists were like, you have social media, right? And I was like, yeah, like everyone does. Why? And they're like, why don't you just make some posts? And for whatever reason, that stuck out in my head. And I got home, and if you know me, I have a few cats. So I started making some cat videos on TikTok. And that transitioned into me playing video games and recording my video game content and making that into TikToks and trying to learn, editing software. I think Apple has Movie Maker. And if you know anything about editing software, it's complete crap. But I was working with that, and then someone on TikTok commented on a video I made and said it was terrible and I should use CapCut, so I transitioned to that. So originally a lot of my videos were either video game content or shit posts that weren't really funny, but it kind of pushed me to learn the craft and get more interested in it. And then jumping forward to 2022, it's actually when I met my wife, Marie. And just like anyone with any silly hobby, I showed it off to her. And she actually kind of saw potential in the videos that I made with the editing, and she kind of pushed me to continue doing that. I never had that much encouragement when it came to pursuing anything in the arts, I would say, especially with like my video and stuff like that. I've showed off what I've had to like friends and family, and it was either like, haha, that's cool, or whatever. But just the kind of encouragement I got from her was a lot different than what I was used to. And instead of just blowing it off like a one-time thing, like, oh, she's just being nice, I really just kind of ran with it. So in 2023, remember February in 2023, I went skiing, and I am not good at skiing. I have not gone since. I ended up falling on the bunny slopes. And if you're not familiar, that's where you practice before you actually hit the actual slopes. So it's as embarrassing as it sounds, I fell and I broke my tailbone. And I was out of commission at work for about a month and a half. And in that time, I couldn't do my favorite thing, which is to sit and lay down. I had to pretty much stand a lot of the time. And around that time too was when I was kind of really taking interest in making videos. And Maria and I started doing cooking videos on TikTok. Marie's a vegan, and I mostly eat vegan now. So we kind of took that and tried to make vegan recipes, like vegan breakfast burritos. We did a vegan pizza, and I got really into it. I tried to buy rigs to set up lights, and like I made my own rigs, like PVC pipes, and like actually I remember the first time we wanted to try an overhead camera, we took a cardboard box, zip tied a broomstick to it, and taped the phone to the broomstick so it was overhead, and you can watch overhead what we were doing. But yeah, that's when I really started trying to like get into it and figure out the editing process. I think around that time too is when Marie put me onto Adobe Premiere Pro, which is what I primarily use now. And yeah, we didn't really stick with the cooking videos, obviously. Every single idea you have, especially when you start getting into a creative like process or creative like hobby or pursuit, that you think like your next idea is going to be your $1 million idea. And I thought we're going to be food TikTokers, and that didn't really take. We started the interviewing like part of what we do. That's like a big part of what we do, like interviewing people, and like I said with the podcast, like giving people a platform to explain and share who they are. Maria and I went to an art show, Pancakes and Booze, which she's been a frequent, she's shown her work there quite a few times now. And this was the first time we went, and she wasn't a part of it. But we decided to check it out, and at the time, because I was getting like really serious about the videography, I bought a Sony camera, and the intention was just to take the camera there and just get footage of like the different art pieces and like just kind of the feel and the ambience of the whole thing. We didn't really have like a clear objective with it, and when we're walking around with the camera, some of the artists would stop us and be like, "Oh, are you media? Like, who are you here with?" And we're just like, "Oh, we're here by ourselves." And one way or another, we started interviewing people. Marie would hold the camera, and I would take my cell phone, put the voice recorder on, and use that as a microphone. It was a really crowded area. It's like a basement kind of art show, so there's like tons of people walking around. So like I had the wherewithal, like, oh, I don't have a mic on this camera, I'm just gonna use my phone. And we just, what's your name? What's your type of art? What's the medium you use? What's your favorite piece? And just putting the phone in people's faces, and they answered. And they were like really excited to just be able to share, who they were. And we interviewed quite a few people that night, but I think I only made about 4 videos. But I really got into the process of editing the interviews more so than the cooking videos or like silly cat and dog videos I used to do. Even more so than like the video game videos I used to do. Whenever I edit an interview, I essentially rewatch the whole thing. I try to absorb everything that they're saying. I try to see where people are more enthusiastic, like the parts that they're explaining about, whether it's their art or who they are. And I try to find ways to highlight that. And I think I've gotten pretty good at cutting out some of the fat, like dead air or like things that people repeat. The objective of my editing is, like, you might see it cut to another camera. That's just me cutting out some stuff that I didn't think would fit. And the final product is going to be just a seamless kind of interview. And that's when I really started my process with those interviews over at Pancakes and Booze. Yeah, I think that's where we got the start. So kind of along that journey, with Marie being an artist, we started pursuing, different types of markets and events for us to showcase her work. And through that, we met like a lot of different types of artists. And we even got lucky where a couple of them decided to sit down and let us interview them because of what I was interested in. Like I said, I really fell into doing the interviews and making that kind of content. So in 2024, we decided to throw our own art show. We invited a lot of the artists that we met throughout, our journey in the markets and the art shows. And we had people display their work in our home. We had a DJ, we had a lot of different artists, performers. And at that time, one of the attendants at the party was working with an organization down in Delaware, Wilmington. And he invited us to come along to their open mics in the Wilmington Public Library. And we got a chance to really hone our interview craft there by interviewing the featured artists, every month. We would sit them down, do like a 2-camera setup like the one you see here, and just do like a 10-15 minute interview of who they are, the songs that they're doing, what their inspiration is. And that's when we started figuring out really figuring out the process, where we do a pre-screen, which is what we still do to this day. Any person that we meet for an interview or a podcast, we really try to get them on the phone for 30 minutes, and just like, hey, just tell us who you are. Because there's nothing more nerve-wracking than meeting someone for the first time, except meeting them for the first time and there's a camera in your face. So we kind of took the approach of like, we're not only just going to interview somebody, we're going to take the time to get to know them. We're not going to get to know you completely in that 30-minute call, but it makes interactions like this a lot easier, instead of just like, I never met this person, I don't know what they're going to ask me, to like, oh, they seem really genuine and nice on the phone. And, we make our intentions clear. Like, we're not gotcha journalists. We're not trying to make you look bad. Like, that's going to make us look bad. We want to make you look good. And yeah, we did that for some time. And then we also got into event coverage, more event coverage there as well, just through the work that we did with the interviews. We started getting a little more recognition. Around that time, too, is when we established ourselves as Good Soup Productions. Good Soup Productions went from me making cat videos and us making cooking videos to us just being like a couple with a company with a little bit of a reputation. And as we started to grow, we got into different types of work. We started working with a record label down in Delaware, Trifecta Music, covering their events, trying to do vlog interviews with them. And, you know, we've done that for a few months now at this point. But, you know, during that time, you know, I've had conversations with Marie. A lot of what we've done up until that point was really just like try to focus on other people, artists, whoever, events, performances, like really put other people on like the forefront of what we do. Marie always expressed wanting to do some type of podcast or talk show on YouTube. And I would always tell her, you know, we need to practice on other people's stuff first. You know, first off, even doing this profile right now is kind of nerve-wracking, like being in front of the camera, 2 cameras. You know, whenever we get people in front of our cameras, we let them know it's not a big deal, you got this, it's easy. The camera's just a piece of equipment, you're talking to us. And you know, it's kind of a big deal, you know, documenting yourself and then having to sit, you know, on the computer and edit and watch yourself over and over again. And that always seemed like really daunting and scary to me. So I always tell Marie, like, you know, we got to practice on other people's stuff before we do ours. And, you know, in this journey, like, you know, there's no bad blood between us or anybody, but, you know, relationships can be complicated. We've had personal and professional relationships kind of dissolve, even just like within this like first major year that we started doing this. You know, sometimes you just don't see things eye to eye. You don't agree on things with certain people or certain organizations, and you have to move on. You know, sometimes you can work through those things, but other times you just kind of have to like figure out what your values are and weigh them, you know, the pros and cons. And like, we didn't want to find ourselves in a position where we're reliant on other people to have work or to make, you know, videos, content, art, whatever you want to call it. And like, for me particularly, like, I didn't want to lose the opportunity to make what makes me happy. So, you know, eventually I kind of acquiesced, and I said, yeah, let's do a podcast. You know, at this point, we're pretty decent interviewers. We've done a few artist profiles, and for now, we decided to kind of stick with that format. You know, we've met a lot of great artists throughout our time as Good Soup, and a lot of them were really like gracious and like letting us kind of just have them come over. Our first few episodes were done right here in front of this art. You know, we set up a table, you know, made dinner, and just kind of asked them to just have a conversation about what they do and kind of compared experiences. And especially for me, like some of the episodes, I open up a lot about myself. And a lot of that was hard to kind of like sit through again in the editing process. But it's almost kind of making me realize like a dream like I had when I was younger. Like, I've always liked like late night television shows. I don't watch them so much anymore, you know, but when I was younger, you know, like the whole format of it, you know, you sit down, you talk with somebody, get them on your couch, you get to know them. You know, sometimes you have musical performances, I don't know, games, stuff like that I've always enjoyed as a kid. And like, it always seemed to be about like the person that you're presenting, and it's always like in the best possible light. And I've kind of taken that attitude and the mindset with Good Soup After Dark. And for me, that's kind of like where the name, like my meaning, my interpretation of Good Soup After Dark is, it's almost like a late show. You know, it's nice, it's pleasant, it's fun. I think like a pipe dream of mine in the future for this particular project that we're doing is to kind of make it like kind of make it like a late night show. You know, maybe one day in front of an audience, and, you know, we sit down, we get to know people, we have performances in between, we have, you know, just a good old time on TV. And I think the podcast is a great step towards that. It's something that I want to keep working on and keep developing. I just want to continue making stuff that is positive. It puts people in a positive light, and it gives people who don't normally have a chance to share who they are a place to share who they are. And then maybe one day we'll get bigger and we'll have even cooler and bigger guests, but I don't ever want to forget or disregard where we came from. So that's kind of my dream with it. Yeah. You know, that sounds all positive and happy and like a great time, honestly. But, you know, just like anyone else with anything else, there's challenges and obstacles. And I think one of my biggest obstacles is that I find myself in a lot of spaces that I'm not sure I belong in. I've been a cable guy for 9 years. I've been in telecom for, at this point, like 15 years. And this thing with Good Soup, this undertaking, has been a recent thing for the past 2-3 years now. And even at this point, I'm not sure what I'm doing necessarily. I'm not sure of where I belong. I know what I want to do. But sometimes, like, I don't even know if it's worth it. You know, you wonder who's watching. You wonder who's interested. You know, you wonder if you're gonna eventually make money off of this stuff, you know? Sometimes it gets really difficult juggling 2 different jobs. You know, I'm a cable guy, and then I do this. You know, like, sometimes I feel the responsibility of not only keeping up my morale when it comes to this, but, you know, keep up Marie's morale. And, you know, she does a good job of trying to keep mine up as well. We try to prop each other up when we feel particularly down. But yeah, this is just the stage in our lives when it comes to this, where we're fortunate enough that people are starting to gain interest in what we do. We're fortunate enough that people want to jump on the podcast. But I worry about being able to keep up. I worry about making good stuff. I worry about having the time to make the stuff. You know, and yeah. And on top of that, I don't feel like I belong in the spaces that I find myself in. You know, this is an artist profile, and I think I'm the furthest thing from it. Like, even with the actual craft of the cameras and the lighting, like, I'm not well versed at any of it. The Sony's running on auto mode. I don't know how to change any of the settings. I just know that getting the right people in front of the cameras is more important. And I just hope that I can continue to do that. And, you know, obviously my skills later on will grow. But sometimes I get impatient and worried. You know, I think I mentioned on an episode before of Good Soup After Dark, like, I feel like I have imposter syndrome, but I don't know what I'm being an imposter of, because I don't know who I'm supposed to be. You know, like I said, every idea you have, you think it's going to be your $1 million idea. And like, that being said, you have a new idea because the previous one didn't work. I just really hope that these current ideas I have do work, you know. All that being said, we ultimately hope that we make stuff that really connects with you, the viewer. Whoever's watching this, especially with Good Soup After Dark. After Dark has really become like the main focal point of who we are at this point. We want to be able to make content that really helps you connect with whoever we're speaking to, whether it's a musician, an artist, or if it's just me and Marie. We want to be able to like tell people stories and help them tell it in a way that really kind of just draws you in and keeps you in and gives you insight to like who these people are. You know, just like myself, a lot of the people we talk to have normal jobs. You know, we're not artists that make millions off of what we do. And honestly, some of us are not even artists that make thousands on what we do. And you know, like a lot of us have dreams, you know, a lot of us have ambitions. It's just a lot of us don't have a place to really just broadcast that. And, you know, we could really spend our time trying to get on with bigger platforms and bigger stages. Or we can just really start this from the ground up, and that's what Good Soup is just in general. It's just a grassroots movement from the ground up. Like we're not your late night shows or, you know, your Soul Trains or anything like that yet. But that's what we hope to become. You know, a bigger platform that's open to everybody. A bigger platform that's open to everybody, that really puts on the people who put in the work and who make the things that really connect with you. You know, you're probably not going to get too many more artist profiles of myself like this. And what I'm hoping is that you kind of just join us along this journey with Good Soup After Dark and get to know us better through that process in that way. You know, hopefully, like, you're tagging along for a journey as we climb our way up. You know, I think I'm more than just a cable guy. And I think I'm starting to get more confidence in saying that too.